Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and I am so excited today because I have been wanting to put a base on the bottom of a piece of furniture, make it myself for, gosh, I don't know, like 2 years. So I found this buffet and it is solid maple. It's in great shape, but I really didn't like the legs and I'm ready to tackle that project. So if you want to see this makeover, keep watching. So first things first, I always vacuum out my piece with my Master Force shop vac, and then I clean my piece very thoroughly with Farmhouse Paint Pure Power Cleaner. It's a waxer, degreaser. You want to get this all cleaned out. Baby spider alert. Blech. The underside of your piece is really nasty, so make sure you get it vacuumed out and wiped down and cleaned off thoroughly. So now my favorite part, I get to remove this curvy base. So all I'm doing is unscrewing these screws that I see in the bottom of the front little curvy part of the legs and then the side pieces, and then I will just pop that right off. This is the first time I've tried to build a base, so I am going to hang on to these pieces in case. Oh, but if I don't use them, maybe some weights or baton twirling. I did take baton when I was in elementary school. I got skills. Taking off this old hardware because I don't want to use this. Batwing hardware is what we call it. And because it's just outdated and I really don't like it. So I'm going to change that hardware. Going to take off all the hardware, even on the doors, and replace those with knobs. So I'm not being as careful as I usually am if I want to replace those pieces, but I just pop those off with my painter's tool. And now right here, I've decided that I want to take the second part of the base off because I didn't want to put my base on top of this. I don't know, it's like a 2-inch, 3-inch. I just felt like it would be too much right there. So I'm just popping off this little frame and I will attach the base directly to the wood that's underneath. So I'm measuring out my pieces of board. I have 1x3s that I'm measuring out for the sides and the front. And then I will have 2x2s that I'm measuring out for the legs. So these are my 1x3s. I'm measuring out the long side first, marking those, and then cutting them with my miter saw. These boards are red oak, which are very strong. You don't want to pick pine or something that's a softwood. You want to pick a hardwood. I do have all of the materials down in my description listed so you can see what you need to build a base of your own. And now I'm measuring out each side of the base. So you only put a board, you can put a board in the very back, but it's not necessary. So I'm putting a board in the front, the long piece, and then 2 side pieces, which are shorter. And I like to use a square once I've marked so that I know, this is a triangle, but I make a 90-degree mark so that I make sure my cut is straight. And here I'm using the longest part of the board for the legs, and I'm going to cut my angles first. There was a lot of thought and a lot of different adjustments that went into deciding where the angle went, and it wasn't an exact thing. I just kind of had to put it in there where I thought it went and try to match it, the second leg to the first leg. After I cut that first angle, then I'm going to measure for my 6-inch legs, cut that one, and then cut the second angle and the second leg. There's my first leg, so I'm just popping it onto the long board that I have left, and I'm making a mark for my angle so that I can make my second angle in the same location. Next, I'm cutting off my straight legs for the back, so I'm just cutting both of those 6 inches long. And next, I'll be using my Craig pocket hole jig to drill my pocket holes into the pieces to connect them. So I'm putting my vacuum hose into that, and I'm setting my drill bit at 3/4 of an inch, which the book tells you how deep you want to make your pocket holes. It gives you a guide for how thick your wood is. And so I've set that to what it says, centered that where I want to put my pocket holes, push down, and then I'm drilling my pocket holes. I started with drilling the ones that go to the legs. So these are on my longer board, one of my longer boards, my front board or my side board, and these, as you can see, those pocket holes will fit into the legs. And then I decided to do the pocket holes next that go into the base of the buffet. I'm making 3 sets of those, so I just slide the board down a little bit. Or maybe I made 4. I can't remember. Anyway, about every 6 or 8 inches, you want to make another set of pocket holes. And here I'm drilling them in for the other end. So you just want to make sure when you're drilling all your pocket holes that the ones that go horizontally like these are going in the same direction, because you want them to all go into the base of the piece. And next I'm just going to dry fit these pieces on the bottom of my piece. I flip my piece upside down and I'm just going to check out if they're going to look fine. And I was so excited that they actually were fitting on just like they were supposed to. So now I've clamped my leg to the end of one of the pieces, and I'm putting my 1 1/4 inch Craig jig screws. So they come in all different sizes. They give you this nice big long drill bit when you buy the product, and I'm just screwing those in to the legs. So I'm getting the other leg screwed in to the side, and then we'll connect the sides together. I definitely needed another pair of hands for this. I didn't have enough clams, or I didn't have the right kind of clams, or they wouldn't go because I needed to screw them on there. And it was just so helpful to have someone else to hold those down. So now here we're connecting the long side to the short side. And then screwing in the back legs. And now I'm going to fit the pieces that I've put together onto the base and see if it's lined up and we can get it to square up so we can screw it into the base of the piece. Woohoo! Party! Always time for a dance when you get to those points. Down the little rough areas where the old screws were, and we started to put this into the base. So you can see how those pocket holes go down. So all of them on each of the front and back need to be, when you drill them, need to be drilled in the same direction so they can go down into the piece. So I'm screwing those in. We come up with a little problem. So my 1 1/4 inch screw went through the base just a tiny bit. So here we are discussing if we need to just back it off a little bit or if I just need to not screw it in quite as far. And once I did it a second time, yeah, it was time to stop and reevaluate and get some 1 inch screws instead of 1 1/4 inch screws. They just popped just a little bit too far through the edge of the trim on the bottom. So no problem, we're just gonna stop for now and go get some new screws. Meanwhile, I decided I'm not going to waste any time waiting for those screws. I had to order them on Amazon and it was going to be the next day, so I just started scuff sanding my piece off. The reason you scuff sand a piece is to get that surface roughed up just a little bit. You don't want to put your paint on the very smooth surface because it won't stick as well. So the hardware left some indentations where the old hardware had been, so I'm using my Bondo spot putty. And I'm just going to fill those in and then sand it down tomorrow or whenever it dries. This is pretty stinky, so if you use a lot of it or do it for a long time, you might want to put a mask on. So here I've decided I'm going to take the doors off in order for it to be more easy to paint the piece. And I want to paint the hardware a different color. So the new hardware is going to be black. So I just am going to paint those hinges black. Oh, new screws arrived, 1 inch screws. So here we are. We're going to screw in the rest of the base and keep our fingers crossed that nothing else happens that delays this process. On a side note, put your hair in a ponytail. It just drives me nuts. I can't see the sides of what I'm doing, and I just washed my hair and I was getting ready to go somewhere. Long details, I know, but I hate working with my hair in my face. So if you have long hair, and especially if you're cutting on your saws, make sure that's pulled back. To the end, so we're gonna flip it over and see how this works. Oh my goodness, there it is. I'm so excited. I can't believe how good it looks already, and I've not even stained it yet, but that's to come. So next I'm sanding the base down to 220, I think it was, whatever the can said. And I'm using General Finishes Antique Oak Water-Based Stain, and I'm just going to stain that base to a beautiful brown color. And those places I filled with Bondo spot putty, the little dings and dents and the furniture or the hardware indentations, I'm just going to sand all those smooth, and so you'll never know they were there. Next, I'm going to scrape off the finish off of the top because I want to stain this top, and I hope it has beautiful grain. And so I'm getting all the finish off there, and then I'm just sanding that down, going through my grits. I started with an 80 because this is solid wood, and I went to my 120, my 180, and my 220 and sanded that down. I was a little disappointed that it wasn't looking like I had hoped. It is solid maple, but it really doesn't have a good grain, but I went ahead and decided I'm going to try to stain it. So here I'm doing my wood conditioner and my stain, same stain, General Finishes Antique Oak, and I just didn't like it. It didn't look good. There was no grain, so we're just going to paint the top just like the rest. Here I'm priming with my black Aqualock. Since it's a dark color, I want to use black because I just feel like I'll be able to cover the easier with my paint and I won't have to use so many coats. And this is my color, Restoration Bronze by Melange, and I'm using the Modern line, which is a enamel paint that is very durable. It does not need top coat. It does take a long time to dry, I'm not gonna lie. I think in cooler weather and darker colors, it takes longer. It took about 24 hours for me to do the first coat until between coats. So I did my first coat. I had to wait about 24 hours before I did my second coat. And then, you know, it took a while for it to dry to where you could touch it and do things with it. So just a warning there. It's a beautiful paint though. It is durable. The color is just magnificent. This is one of my favorite colors of all time. Melange does have another line called the One Formula. Restoration Bronze comes in the One Formula that also has a top coat. It just may not be quite as durable, but I know it's durable and people use it, and you don't have to top coat that one either. Now here I am top coating this beautiful base that I'm so excited for. I'm using General Finishes High Performance Top Coat in satin. Then I put everything back together, put the hardware on, drawer liners in, and let's go back and see what it looked like at the beginning of this project. So here's the before and here's the after. Oh my goodness, that base, I'm just in love with it. I can't even believe I made this. If I can do it, you can do it. I am so excited how that base turned out. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, hit that bell button down below so that you can be notified when new videos come out. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.